Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tearing open a topic that is just everywhere. Work,
Right.
but not how to find a job or, how to get a raise. We're talking about the fundamental architecture behind it all.
That's the key. I mean, if you spend any time online, you are just bombarded with it. Career success, wealth hacks, side hustles, courses promising financial freedom.
All of it.
And all of these things, they operate on one shared assumption. They teach you how to live let's say, a slightly more decent life within the existing rules.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Our sources are suggesting that focusing on just like maximizing your income or switching jobs, it's like trying to rearrange the furniture in a room you can't leave.
In a holding cell, exactly. It
Yeah.
misses the big structural question.
Which is,
How is the game itself designed? I mean, what role does going to work actually play in modern society? And why does it feel so inescapable?
right. So if we don't get that, then any talk of freedom is just finding a better position inside the prison, not actually leaving it. So we're not here to offer comfort or optimization tips today. We're here to uncover the essence of working, framing it as our sources do, as a kind of systemic sacrifice.
It's a trade-off. And
Well-
to really get your head around that, you have to start with a much longer historical view.
Okay.
If you trace the path of civilization, the real tragedy of humanity might not be poverty. It might actually be the division of labor.
That's a huge statement. So before all this mass specialization,
Yeah.
you're talking about the pre-division individual.
Yeah, think about that person. Life was incredibly hard, no question. But they were what the sources call a complete organism.
Meaning they could do everything for themselves.
They knew how to hunt, how to grow food, build shelter, make basic tools. They had, difficult but complete control over their own survival.
Okay, so now fast forward to today. Post-industrialization.
Yeah.
Productivity has just skyrocketed.
We have skyscrapers, global supply chains, the internet. We built this massive, incredibly efficient machine of a civilization.
And here's the catch, the trap. Every single one of those efficiency gains meant a stripping away of the individual's basic ability to survive on their own.
It's the paradox of specialization, isn't it? You get really, really good at one tiny thing. Maybe it's writing code or financial analysis or what we do.
But that skill only has value inside the machine.
Exactly.
I think about this all the time. I know how to script a really complex narrative, but if my plumbing bursts, I'm completely useless. I have to call someone.
Right. Your specialized knowledge doesn't generate food or power or medicine. Separated from the system, the modern person is fundamentally incapable of self-maintenance.
So if that's our starting point, then the whole idea of going to work just changes completely. It stops being a lifestyle choice.
And it becomes what our sources call an access agreement to the system.
An access agreement.
That's the core of it. We contribute our small, specialized skill, and in return, the machine gives us the currency we need to access food, housing, security, dignity.
So we're not really choosing to work for fulfillment. We're choosing.
You're choosing not to starve. You're choosing not to be exposed to the elements.
And when you frame it like that, it explains why the fear of being unemployed is so visceral.
It's not just about losing your income. It's the threat of being ejected from the entire modern survival infrastructure.
Okay, so that's the cage. Let's look at the transaction itself then, the core transaction. What are we actually handing over when we sign that contract?
Well, on the surface, you're told you're selling your skills, your experience.
But the deeper reality is
You're selling your disposable lifetime.
disposable lifetime.
Yeah. The hourly wage, the monthly salary, those are just price tags. They convert a segment of your one finite life into system currency.
And all the things you could have been doing in that time. Creating art, being with family, just thinking.
All of those unmade possibilities are what you're actually selling. Because during those contracted hours, you yield control. Your body's there, but your will has to yield.
You can't just decide the pace or think freely or choose who to talk to. Everything revolves around tasks and performance metrics.
That's time commercialization. It's about taking your messy human subjectivity and turning it into a standardized, replaceable unit of labor.
And any deviation from that, like a moment of creativity or needing a break,
It's just unauthorized noise. It's a drag on efficiency.
this leads to a pretty brutal reevaluation of what a salary actually is.
It does. The sources argue it's not a reward. It's better understood as compensation or even a depreciation fee. The system pays for the legal occupation of a segment of your life.
So the employment contract is basically an agreement to temporarily transfer ownership of a part of your life.
And if you look at modern management, its whole goal is to reduce uncertainty. And what's the biggest source of uncertainty in any system?
The person.
The living human. Our moods, our fatigue, our emotions, they all have to be sort of neutralized for the machine to run smoothly.
So job descriptions, training, KPIs, it's all part of this process of turning a unique person into a standardized, interchangeable module.
And here's the really fascinating part. A truly mature system prides itself on the fact that when any single person leaves, it doesn't affect the overall operation.
Wow.
Think about that. Your total replaceability is a sign of the system's maturity.
So they hire you for what makes you unique, but they manage you until your departure is completely insignificant.
It's the ultimate paradox. And that pressure, that's where you get the connection to Marx's idea of alienation.
Right. It all snaps into focus.
It does. The standardization leads to profound alienation. You're separated from your own labor, from the final product, even from your own feelings.
That Sunday evening dread, the anxiety, the insomnia.
To the system, that's not human suffering.
It's just noise on a spreadsheet.
Exactly. You're just reduced to the figures that matter. Cost, output, efficiency, risk. That feeling of being dragged to a daily sacrifice. It's the feeling of becoming a means to an end.
Okay, so we've mapped the structure, the cage, and the cost, our time. The inevitable question then is, how do we get out? Let's talk about these 3 layers of freedom.
Layer 1 is what the sources call negative freedom, the survival buffer.
And the question there is pretty blunt.
It's brutally blunt. Do you have the qualification not to starve? Can you survive for a period of time without participating in the machine?
This defines the whole power imbalance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The system has the infrastructure, the land, the currency, the healthcare. You just have your time and effort.
Which gives you almost zero bargaining power if you have no buffer. And that's what managers leverage. They're not leveraging their intellect. They're leveraging the fear standing right behind you.
A mortgage payment, the tuition, the medical bill.
That's it. The unspoken threat is always, if you don't do this, someone else will and you'll be out.
So real first layer freedom isn't about buying a yacht. It's the right to pause.
The ability to stop for 6 months, a year, whatever, to just recover and regroup without facing total ruin. Without that, any talk of self-realization is just finding ways to live a slightly more decent dog's life, as the sources put it.
Oof. Okay. But let's say you get that buffer. You achieve what people on the internet call financial independence.
Right. You solve the external problem. But then you run smack into layer 2, psychological freedom, escaping the value prison.
This is the side hustle track, isn't it?
It often is. It can turn into this high-intensity self-exploitation where you burn all your present freedom for a future dream that frankly often just looks like another job.
And even if you don't have to work for a boss anymore, there's still that invisible punch clock in your mind.
It's always there. You wake up and you're calculating your output, comparing yourself to others online, and feeling anxiety and shame if you think you're falling behind.
It's the system controlling you without even being there, through what the sources call meaning engineering.
A great term. It links your personal value to external metrics, your salary, the house, the car, the follower count.
And if you surrender your self-judgment to those things, you're living for the gaze of others, constantly trying to prove you're winning.
Which proves you're still not free. So psychological freedom is the ability to stop and genuinely ask yourself, do I truly endorse these standards?
It's learning to define a valuable life on your own terms, even if other people think it's unambitious or weird.
You're reclaiming the right to judge yourself. And once that fear of starvation and that fear of judgment begin to fade, you're thrown into the deepest layer of all.
Existential freedom.
Yes. And it is terrifying. When all the external reasons to keep moving are gone, the biggest question emerges, what is the meaning of my life?
And there's no script for that, no standard answer. A lot of people who successfully quit their jobs, they crash here.
They do, because the philosophical answer is cold. There is no preset meaning, but humans have this immense, incredible power to be responsible for their own choices.
And that's what third layer freedom is.
It's choosing your path, knowing that effort doesn't guarantee your reward, and accepting total responsibility for the outcome. You can't blame the boss or the system anymore.
And that amount of power, it comes with a huge price. This is what Kierkegaard called anxiety's vertigo, the fear of absolute choice.
It's why Erich Fromm said most people actually prefer to escape from freedom. It's just easier to merge back into a group, an organization, a company, anything, to avoid the terrifying burden of being solely responsible for your own existence.
So if you do choose that path of self-determination, it can be incredibly lonely.
It's almost inevitably lonely. You lose the common language. You're not talking about housing prices or promotions anymore. Real awakening is a long, difficult, and often solitary road.
Okay, we've gone through the structure, the cost, the escape routes. Let's bring this back down to reality. Most people listening aren't going to completely leave the system.
No, of course not. The goal isn't total freedom, whatever that is. It's about changing the ratio of your life.
The ratio. What do you mean by that?
It means it's not about a radical act, like quitting tomorrow. It's a cognitive awakening, recognizing what's fixed and what's actually negotiable.
So, for example, can you reserve a block of time, maybe just an hour a day, that is purely for yourself, with no external expectations?
Can you question a standard before you adopt it? And maybe most importantly, can you start treating your work less like a desperate sacrifice and more like a deliberate exchange?
An exchange of my time for access to infrastructure.
That small shift in ratio changes everything. Because freedom isn't a faraway destination you save up for. It's a daily practiced ability.
So you might be in the same job tomorrow.
You might be. But you can choose to make tiny, stubborn changes to your own personal script. Adjust a few lines of dialogue. Change your walking rhythm. Just little things to make sure that when you look in the mirror, you're still recognizable to yourself.
That slow, conscious choice to reclaim decision-making, even in a small way, that's the real victory. A quiet daily rebellion against the default script.
And that's the commitment we leave you with, the commitment to be deliberate. The deep dive continues next time.